I've just started my first pod and already giving it a run for its money at 3:15, side arrow. I think a lot of this is because of the anxiety of starting the pod and whatnot, but also just diabetes, so I'm trying not to override it or give any extra insulin. I'm trying to just let it learn its thing. I know the first few pods are supposed to be really rough, or not rough, but like kind of a steep learning curve for the system to get to know your system. So, but if you wanted to know, what I'm eating right now, because I'm hungry, we're looking at like just some ham. So no carbs. Trying to get this blood sugar down without rage bolusing. And just so you guys can see, like there, that's the pod. Doesn't feel anything at all. So that's kind of cool. It is day 2, just my second day on the system, and my overnight was top notch. Honestly, because people told me it was going to be like a very rocky road getting started, I expected things to be so much worse. I'll say, for example, you can see the last hour here. That wave has been totally ridden by the system. I haven't bolused, I haven't eaten, and that's all been through the automated, background basal insulin. I have realized and developed quite the fear that I'm going to leave home without the PDM because I'm an Apple user and it's only approved for Android at the moment for use with that Android system. So I've ordered, in fact it arrived today, an AirTag that I'm gonna stick to this because I read on Reddit /Omnipod, which has become very helpful, that's what a lot of people do. So hopefully if I leave the house, that will alert my phone saying you've gotten X amount of, distance away from it. So I don't get an hour away and realize it there. I realize it 10 steps outside of my door, something like that. Have yet to work it out. Other than that, I took a shower today. Totally adhesive stayed, no problem. And I know it's only day 2, but I am so supremely enjoying not being on a tubed pump that it truly is my ideal. I have honestly gone so many times for where I usually kept it on my waistband, my T-Slim. So I've gone there so many times, and I was in the kitchen last night and I was looking for my tubing to make sure I wasn't gonna get it caught on any drawers. So that was kind of fun. But that's my day 2 update. Very happy. Okay, so it's day 6. I have been on the Omnipod 5 now for 6 days. This is my 2nd pod. I will do my 3rd pod tomorrow. And I have really had a different experience on the 2nd pod than I did on the 1st. All this to say, apparently the 1st pod, it's just working off your basal settings. And I think the 2nd pod is when the AI comes into effect. Also on this pod, it just so happened that I've had tons of kind of abnormal social activity, meeting people for dinner. I went and saw a show, tons of running about that I would not normally have on a day-to-day basis. So I equally have given this pod a big run for its money. Overall, I've been running way higher than low. I think a lot of that is my fault for not trusting the system and for seeing a side arrow going down, and whereas on my T-Slim, I knew, okay, yeah, I can pretty much eat 15 grams of carb for free right now because I'm coming down, and that will blunt the low. The system will blunt the low, but I will also blunt the low by taking in the 15 grams of carb. Oh no, I do not need any carb. I can bolus for the carb, and pre-bolus at that, because really need that with the system I found. But I do not need to be introducing any carbs sort of my own accord, thinking that I'm gonna go low. Other thing is, today I went for my first time to a heavy cardio class. Everything else I've done before was very low impact. This was gonna be jumping around. So I was I don't know how this is gonna react. Put it in exercise mode, walked to the class, which is about a 20-minute walk away. And as I was walking, I could see I was trending low. I wasn't going straight arrow down, but I was going side arrow. And this was something that would happen a lot on my T-Slim. So I was like, I better just like eat like 15 grams of carbs, like right now. And I ate the carbs and things leveled out. So I thought, oh, maybe like I did a good job there. No. During the class, I was straight arrow going up. So really realizing like I have to trust the system, but it's really hard to go against your instincts that you've done for so many years. Other thing I've noticed that I'm trying to not get too ragey about is like, because I have been high, when I'm coming down, probably I'm noticing around like the 140 mark with the side arrow, it starts cutting out insulin. And I know I still need that insulin, but I can see it's cut out completely. So I can see it on the graph. I can see like, okay, 140, it cuts out for this period of time. I pretty much just go straight back up. So that's really frustrating because I know I need more insulin at that point, but the system doesn't know it yet. So it's doing a really good job at avoiding lows, way too good a job at avoiding lows, and not a very good job or not a very efficient job yet of bringing me down from highs. Like a real-time example, right now I'm 110 and you can see all that red means it's suspended the basal, and that's happened here before too. So I got that little rise, then I did some movement. I don't know what happened here. And then here we'll see, but my guess is that 110 is gonna end up being a side arrow going up if history is anything to go by of these last 3 days. With my T-Slim, if I had been dancing around this range, I know I could have taken in like probably 10 grams of carbs, not bolusing, nothing, and probably been like okay. But right now I ain't doing anything because if history tells me right, that is going to swing upwards. I don't know how high, hopefully not too high, please, but yes. So even though I didn't eat not one single carb, nothing, we find ourselves now from, I think 110 was my last number, to 144. This is what I was worried about. If you look at the graph, it did stay stable for quite a while. It did a tiny bump up, so it came off of the holding the basal, stayed pretty stable, and now we're up again. And I'm seeing this a lot where these red lines are coming in and I'm getting an uptick after they've been on for so long, which is understandable because I've been without the basal. But I'm really hoping that that corrects because it's very frustrating when I could have been sat more or less here. But because of the system being too worried about me going low, I'm climbing. I'm probably going to climb higher still. It has been now a week and a couple days on the system. I have had a really rough first week, and that is why part of me wanted to do an update after I had been on my third pod for a couple days because I wanted to see if the algorithm better understood me on the third pod. So far, much better than the first, but I'm still struggling. So my last night on my second pod, we went out to go see UFC at the Prudential Center. It's a fighting show that goes on for 7 hours. So you're sat in your seats. There's not much like healthy food per se, but you can't bring food in with you. So we sort of ate bits and bobs, didn't feel the greatest in terms of my carb counts and the health of the food that I was eating there. But that night, I just switched into manual mode. I was so frustrated that I couldn't kind of break under 170 without my automated system just pulling the basal out from under me and not giving me anything. And I was like, I have got to get below 170. I felt awful. I'd take a bolus, I'd get up, walk around. It just wasn't breaking. So I wanted to add that here, that I had played around with going into manual mode rather than automated, and I noticed a difference really quickly. In fact, things when I switched into manual really started to drop nicely. But of course, I don't want to do that all the time, but that's kind of a good ripcord behavior, I suppose, if things get really out of whack. Another good thing is when you do go into manual mode, apparently the algorithm is still learning from your behaviors. So that is very good, because I was kind of worried about that. Like, oh my gosh, if I go into manual, then I totally don't feed the algorithm. It's going to take longer and longer and longer. No. So there is an argument to be said that if things are really going off, I could switch into manual mode to achieve the kind of control that I want to have. Then, several pods in, it will have learned, but I will have been able to keep better control throughout that learning period? Question mark? Will say without a shadow of a doubt, I love, 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 love not having tubing. I am just loving that. I feel free. I feel like I don't have to so much consider what I'm wearing or where I'm going to stow my pump or, like it digging into my waist or something like that. That is like really huge. That's really huge for me. And I know it's not big for everybody, but that has been really good for me. And something I really will applaud Omnipod 5 about is that they give you a free trial with the system. And it's probably almost not long enough to get people to see the goodness of the system. Obviously, your insulin you have to pay for and everything like that, but the system, the controller, all of that is covered in the 1 month free trial. So I think that's very cool, and I very much appreciate that now that I live in the US and medications cost, $1,001,001. So I'll keep you posted. I am wishing you guys a wonderful day wherever you are in this world. I wish you great blood sugars, straight CGM lines, all of that good stuff. But most of all, and most importantly, I wish you a happy, healthy mind with it all. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you next time, and I'll see you about a month for an update.